The story begins in sometime in the 1980s where we see a South Korean secret agent being tied up in chains. The man has hands tied up and hanged while we see that his body is filled with bruise and injuries and blood splattered all over him. The man then softly asks for food, which angers everyone who were torturing him. They say to him that it might be common in South Korea for them to give infiltrators food to eat, but that is not what they do in their great nation of North Korea. The man once again speaks up and he repeats the same notion that he wants some food, and if they give him food he will do anything. He says that if they offer him food to eat he will cooperate with them and tell them everything, starting from who he is, what his rank is, and what their intentions were. The man says that he took up this job so that he could eat well and lead a happy life, but as it stands he will not be alive for long due to the hunger, so he will do it. Everyone are a bit skeptical about this, but the captain of the division tells the man that they will give him food, but only if he promises to reveal all the information about the mission he was conducting and which pathway he used to infiltrate into North Korea. The man agrees and the captain tells his underlings to bring food. One of them is a bit worried about giving this man food, but the captain yells at him and tells him that if they don't manage to get anything out of him and send him to a higher division, they won't get any credit for their work and the higher division will take the cake. However, if they manage to get information out of him, it will be beneficial for the entire division. And so they proceed and bring the man some rather peculiar-looking soup and rice to eat. They still don't let his hands free and keep it tied together with chains, but they give him a spoon and chopsticks to eat with. The man then sits down and starts eating the food. As he uses the spoon to taste the soup for the first time, he tells the North Korean officers that while he had heard that North Korean food was full, he still can't understand why the soup tastes so bad, and what had they mixed in it. He further goes on to say that all military food sucked badly, and that even the rice is too hard to swallow. This angers the North Koreans who feel like the South Korean infiltrator is being disrespectful and ungrateful for what they're doing for him. They tell him to just eat up or they'll finish him and tell him the taste of food is not important. Right then, we see a chopstick that was thrown at immaculate speed go and impaled the head of the North Korean division captain. The captain then falls down and it causes eruption in the North Korean camp. The South Korean man then says that the taste of the food is very important. The North Koreans then get enraged and go to attack the man all at once. The man just stands there with a chopstick in hand. Sometime later, we see that his hands and the chopstick are painted over with blood. We then see that the North Korean officers are all down and out from the beating that the man handed to them. The man then says that he will keep his promise to them as they fed him. The man then says that his name is Do Jong and he is the first sergeant of South Korea's intelligence department. Do Jong says that he infiltrated to North Korea via swimming through the ocean, and that the reason why they sent him to North Korea was so that he could go there and finish off the Northerners just like how he finished off the people in the room. Jong then throws the remaining chopstick in his hand towards a mosquito that was bugging him for a while, and the chopstick ends up finishing the mosquito by embedding it to the wall. Jong then says that he has realized that he shouldn't do this kind of work anymore. A few months after this incident, the story is back in Seoul where we see Do Jang at a restaurant with his boss, Lieutenant Colonel Park, who orders 2x meat soup and rice to get into Jang's good books as he is passionate for food. Colonel Park tells Jang that he is by far the most efficient man they have at work, so he doesn't know why Jen is quitting all of a sudden when he has been so good about work lately. Jang then says that it is because of the drop in food quality at the military which makes him want to quit. We then see that their ordered food had arrived and Colonel Park prepares the soup and rice specifically for Jang to eat. However, Jang says that he doesn't eat that way. Jang then shows his passion of food by telling Colonel Park about how he eats. Jang says that he scoops more than half of the rice from the bowl but doesn't take it entirely. Then he puts the rice into the soup and mixes it before consuming it. This way he can enjoy his food without worrying about leftover rice after soup finishing. Colonel Park then asks Jang just why had he had to quit. Is it because of the mission? To which Jang says that it is not about the mission. Colonel Park makes it clear that the main objective of the mission was to infiltrate North Korea and come back alive, and that is what Jang has done, so the mission wasn't a failure. Jang says that it is not about that at all. Colonel Park then smiles before telling Jang to eat first and talk later. Jang says that he is thankful to Colonel Park, to which the man asks why, and Jang replies by saying that he is thankful to Colonel Park because how he gave him the opportunity to to eat well and earn money when he had nothing. Colonel Park says that it is okay and that Du Jang is one of their best ever men and that his contributions will be remembered for years to come. Later on, we see that Jang has started working at a construction site, and there his co-workers are all gaga about how energetic and strong he is at work. One of them says that he has decades of experience in carrying these things, but Jang makes it look easy by comparison. We then see Du Jang running around with tons of weight on his back, climbing stairs, and overall working very hard to get used to things. Jang says that what Colonel Park said was the truth, because while his skills are being acknowledged, he still has a hard life going on for him. However, he is not looking back again, and he is going to try in his own way. We see that after working in the afternoon, Du Jang goes to the bank nearby to deposit his money. Upon entering the bank, he looks at a very beautiful girl at the reception, and they both smile and greet each other. We then see the backstory of what went down between them. One day, when Jang got his daily wages, one of his co-workers told him to not spend the money on alcohol or other bad habits like a lot of the people working there were doing. Instead, he should save it. After all, he is a young man, and a young man should save his money. Jang didn't quite understood what that meant, but as he didn't have anything to do in general, let alone do anything with money, he decided to go and save his money at the bank nearby. And upon going there, he meets this very beautiful woman who smiled at him for opening an account. And at that moment, Du Jang was blown away by her. From that day onwards, Jang went to the bank every day in the afternoon to deposit 5,000 won, which is a small amount, but it gave him an opportunity to see the beautiful lady every day. First, he wanted her to recognize him by the face. Then they also remembered each other's name, the girl's name being Sun and Ah. And that is how a relationship automatically formed between the two, like how interest forms when you save in a bank account. We also learned that she and Ah is a hardworking lady, and even though she had very loving parents, they were very poor. So right after completing high school, began working at the bank. Du Jang told her how he was working in the military and now works at construction, and she asked why doesn't he have money from his military days, to which he replied by saying that he gave away all his earnings to the family of the ones who passed away while working with him because they had families unlike him. This really impressed Sina, and she was deeply touched by it. Back to current time, and Sina tells Jang to actually save up his money and deposit a big amount for once at the end of the month instead of coming every day to deposit. Jang says that if he starts doing it that way, then he will be only able to see her once a month. This makes Sen blush a lot, and Jang realizes that this is the reason for him to live on now. However, just because he has a reason doesn't mean he has it easy, as living every day is still very hard for him. We then see Jang lay down on his bed as some news about the Daesan Welfare Organization goes on. Jang wonders that ever since he became an adult, he was being trained to do some very hard stuff, and he got good at those in the military. However, since leaving that job, he has not been able to utilize his skills he knows best, and it is showing as he doesn't earn a lot and wants to eat and live well. Right then, someone knocks on his door, and upon opening it, Jang sees that it is Staff Sergeant Jo Tamun, who was a good salties but quit the job for personal reasons. Tamun then enters his house, and Jang tells him that he must have it good because of his luxurious watch. Tamun says that he is paid well at his current job. Jang asks how he got his address, to which Tamun says that he got it from asking at the military office, who informed him that Jang quit, and then he searched around the vicinity to find him. Tamun then says that he has a job offer for Jang. Jang asks what kind of job is Taeyoon referring to, and Taeyoon tells him that he is talking about the kind of job that Jang is best at. We then see Jang telling Taeyoon that he doesn't want to dirty his hands, and Taeyoon tells him that he doesn't need to finish off anyone for good, it's just that he wants him to beat up someone. Jang then asks Taeyoon just what kind of job is he doing, to which Taeyoon says that he is just a public representative on the outside, but really speaking he is the leader of a gang, and the person he wants Janggon to beat up is the leader of an opposition gang who has been picking fights with them over little things. Jang then says that he won't quit his day-to-day job to do something like that, as he doesn't identify with that kind of work. Tamun then flips the situation by asking Jang if he quit the military job to live in such a rundown place and work at a construction site of all places. Jang gets stung by this and tells Taeyoon to show some respect to his living. Tamun then says that he will offer Jang 50 million won in cash to do this job for him, and with that money he can do whatever he wants, buy a house in Seoul or even start his own business. This shocks Jang, as 50 million won is equivalent to 37,000 won, and what is basically equivalent to 10,000 days of work for Jang. Tamun then says that it is really up to Jang if he wants that kind of money or not, and if he ever decides to change his mind and stance on these things, he can contact him and gives him his card.
He then tells Jang that his office is at Daesan and that he can get there by taking an expression bus in no time. As Taemun prepares to leave, he says that he doesn't understand how a person like Do Jang is staying away from what he does best to do work like this and to live in a place like this, and leaves. Later on, Jang lays down as he tries his best to sleep. However, the rats which live above the roof of the house are making noises and it ruins his sleep. He then contemplates on what to do. However, he decides that he will rather stick to his current job and observe a bit more before making a move.
As he sleeps, he keeps thinking about what Taemun said about Jang on wasting his skills for no reason whatsoever. The next day, Jang goes to work and sees that there are a lot of heavy cartons and boxes for him to carry. Jang asks the boss about where the other guys are, and the boss replies by saying that he noticed that Jang is beyond impressive at work, and so he only called Jang and didn't call anyone else for work because he knows that Jang will be able to handle all the work on his own. Jang then looks on as he looks more and more disinterested in his current life. Meanwhile, outside the bank, we see that Sienna A is having a drink and a chat with her coworker. The coworker asks Sienna why she is happy during the afternoon, and is it because Do Jang comes during that time? Does she like him or what? Sienna gets a bit flustered by this and replies that Do Jang comes to the bank every day and makes daily depositions. So if this was a store, he would be considered a regular customer and would command better treatment, which is exactly why she treats him kindly. The coworker then said that it makes sense when Sienna puts it that way, because after all, Jang isn't a particularly good-looking man. He isn't handsome by the standards and isn't even rich. This statement angers Sienna, but she hides it and says that at least Jang has a nice body, to which the coworker replies by saying that it's only because he is a construction worker and has to carry heavy items. This was the final straw for Sienna as she gets angry and says that not all construction workers have good bodies and that her father was a construction worker too and he doesn't have a body like that. Sienna then further says that the coworker should stay out of her business and let her be, and then Sienna will stay out of her business because Sienna is aware of her affair with the manager and such. This scares the coworker and she agrees to Sia before going away. Later we see that Sion is back at work after her break and she wonders just why she got so mad when her coworker was insulting Do Jang. And at that very moment, Jang shows up, and Sienna gets surprised because it is not time for him to come yet. However, Jang clarifies that he is here because he didn't have work and that he wasn't there to deposit money and only came to see her. Jang then says that he will be back soon and this time he will make a big deposition, and he leaves. Sia wonders why he has been coming to see her and blushes. We then see that Jang had gotten on the express bus to Daesan, and we also learn that he had already called Taeyun to take up the job and went straight to take the bus. We then see him arriving to the spot where Taemun and one of his driver were already waiting. They take Jang onto the car and start moving. Taemun then explains that the guy he is supposed to take out is called Park Gwan-ho, and that he is the leader of an opposition gang. Taemun explains the conflict between them and says that if he went to attack him, there would be issues in the business. However, if a third party attacks him, it should be fine. And that is where Janggon comes into play. Taemun says that Gwan-ho must have anticipated something like this and has a lot of underlings with him. Jang asks him if they can make it before 4:30 p.m. and Taemun is left confused by this. Jang says that the bank closes at 4:30, so he needs to finish stuff quickly and go back to the bank and asks Taemun if he can make that happen. Taeyun says that it will be dangerous as he has many guards and one of them is a huge Korean traditional wrestler. Jang doesn't care though, and Taeyun remembers just who Jang is and tells the driver to take the car to where Park Gwan-ho is eating currently. Jang asks which food is the best in that restaurant, and the driver responds by saying the dumplings are the best. And off goes Jang to the restaurant. The driver is worried and asks Taemun if this is okay, and Taemun says that there isn't another person like Jang on Earth and that he will deal with. Inside the restaurant, we see that Park Gwan-ho is surrounded by his men while eating, and one of the men is, as mentioned, the huge wrestler guy. Jang takes a seat at the restaurant and orders some dumplings, which he enjoys in his own style as a food connoisseur, and upon being done, he throws a mug towards where Gwan-ho was sitting, and this angers everyone from that camp as they ask Jang why he did that. Jang just simply replies to them that he wants to get into a fight, because he found the sounds they were making while eating to be annoying. This angers Gwan-ho as he then orders his men to go beat up Jang. Janggon smirks as the guys come to beat him up, and we get a flash forward where we see that Jang has beaten up all the guys with ease as we see their bloody and beaten up body on the floor alongside the food that was spilled.
We see that a bloodied and battered Park Gwon-ho is totally dumbfounded as to what happened. He asks Janggon why did he do what he do, and who is he, because he had never seen someone so strong in their work field. Jang says that he can remember him as the one dude with severe anger issues. Gwon-ho then asks Jang if Jo Tae-moon paid him to do this, and besides that, how much did he pay him to do this? Whatever the amount was, Gwon-ho is willing to double the amount if Jang works for him. This interests Jang for a second, as he wonders that doubling 50 million won would be 100 million won, which is a lot better than 50 million. However, Jang wonders if Gwon-ho can even pay that large an amount to him. We then see Park Gwon-ho telling Janggon that it isn't required for him to think about it, as we see the large wrestler get back up and use a chair to attack Jang from behind.
Jang is taken in by surprise and he puts his arms up to block the chair shot by reflexes and somehow manages to stop it, but it hurt his arm a lot. Gwon-ho then orders his huge monster to attack again, which he obliges and tries to do, but this time Jang is aware and he kicks him straight in the family jewels to make him lose all sense. Jang then follows it up with a loaded up axe kick to take out the big dude. This surprises Gwon-ho again and Jang asks him if it is 4:30 p.m. yet, to which Gwon-ho says that it isn't even 2 yet and Jang leaves restaurant. Later, we then see that Jang and Tae-moon come out of the bank all giddy. Tae-moon says that he can't believe that they actually made it before bank hours were closed and asks Jang just what he intends to do with that money now that he has it. Jang says that he hasn't really thought about it yet, but he did see some apartments around the bus terminal earlier, so maybe he will settle down there after buying one. Tae-moon tells him that it's a bad idea and that he should buy a house in a better and more urban area than there. Jang also suggests that he might invest in some stocks, as everyone is doing that, and Tae-moon laughs and asks him if he has a stock in mind. Jang says that he has thought about both Han Electronics and Sam Electronics. Tae-moon then says that between those two, the clear choice is obviously Han Electronics, as they provide electric connection to the entire country, so they're very unlikely to go down in the market. Jang says that he also thinks that Sam Electronics are good, as their new CEO seems fine. But Tae-moon says that Korean electronics are inferior to Japanese ones, so he doesn't see a point. Jang then suddenly feels a shock of pain on his arms and quickly tells Tae-moon that it is hurting where he got hit, and Tae-moon took him to the doctor who he usually goes to, someone who is not fazed by big scars like stabs or other stuff.
We then see that they're at the hospital and the doctor has plastered both of Jang's arms, which annoys him. The doctor tells Jang that they're both minor fractures and that they will easily heal quickly, like within a month or two, because the doctor checked his body and it is a strong one. Jang is still annoyed and asks if he has to wear this annoying double arm bag at all times, to which the doctor says that he shouldn't even think of using his arms now. Tae-moon then takes Jang to a place where they can drink. Kang then says that he is not sure if they should drink when he is in this condition. Tae-moon says that he shouldn't be worried. After all, Jang is the one who taught them how to drink. They then keep taking shots and start getting more and more intoxicated by the drink. Tae-moon says that he knew that Jang was strong, but he still didn't expect him to beat them up so easily. He even prepared weapons for him. Jang asks if he means by firearms, by weapons, and if so, how did he get them? Tae-moon says that he had prepared guns for him to fight with, and also said that they get shotguns because they're sold for hunting and they smuggle in guns from Russia. Jang says that Tae-moon has found the perfect job for him, and Tae-moon says that army suited him better, and he also said that army suited Jang better as well, so he doesn't know why he quit. Jang then says that he quit because he went on mission with a few juniors. However, he only came back alone, failing to protect them, and after that he feels like he shouldn't be called a soldier anymore, and he quit. He thought the souls of his juniors would haunt him, but they never did, maybe because they hate him. Tae-moon notices how heavy the mood had gotten and offered Jang on another drink, and so they kept drinking and drinking for hours until they both were too intoxicated. However, they were saying that they were both fine and blaming the other one of being too high.
Jang then got up and said that he will be going now, and Tae-moon tried to stop him. However, Jang insisted that he must go back to his home. Tae-moon then says that he doesn't even have a home and that the place where he lives is just a rundown inn, and offers Jang to stay for longer and says that he will rent out a room for him at a good hotel to spend the night in. However, Jang insists that he must go home and sleep under his own roof. Jang then leaves. We then see Jang struggling to walk through the roads, and he eventually finds a stranded bench where he lays down to rest. However, he eventually dozes off there. We then see a vehicle arrive near the bench and a few men get outside from it. They see Jang on how he is sleeping on the bench in the middle of nowhere and how he has both of his arm fractured, and they find it very shady. The guys then decide to take Jang to a place that would better suit a person like him. And then we see that they load up Jang to the vehicle, and the vehicle soon leaves for the destination of Daesan Welfare Organization. We then see that Du Jang is dreaming. In the dream, he is caught up in a dark forest with nothing else in sight. There he realizes that someone is calling him as the first sergeant. Jang then sees that the people looking for him are the 2 juniors from his division who passed away during the mission in North Korea. And seeing them surprises Jang, as they usually don't come to see him in his dreams. Later, Jang sees that there is a gun laying around the ground, and he picks it up and puts it against his head, asking if that's what those guys want from him. As he is about to pull the trigger, he suddenly wakes up and sees a random guy telling him to get up and start the day. Jang can't understand what is happening, as he doesn't recognize that guy, nor does he recognize where he is and what he is wearing. Jang then asks the guy who he is and where are they and why are they there, to which the guy says that he asks too many questions, but he explains everything one by one, starting off by introducing himself as Lee Sunjo, and then he tells Janggon that the place they are at is the Daesan Welfare Facility and the outfit they're wearing is the uniform of the inmates. Joe says that there are other things out these for him to tell Jang. However, by this point, Jang had already gotten up from his bed and started walking away. Sunjo goes after him and asks Sunjo where he is going, to which Jang says that he is going home. Jang then goes near the gate and sees that the gate is locked from the inside. Jang gets annoyed by this, and Sunjo comes forth and tells Jang that this place is known to imprison people by force, hence why it is locked. Jang is confused by this. However, at that very moment, an angry man comes towards them and asks them just what they are thinking of doing. Sunjo quickly explains to Jang before he even asks that the person standing there is none other than their platoon leader and that everyone must respect him as such. Sunjo also warns Jang on that the platoon leader always carries a foul temper and irritating him has only led to more harm than good. Jang looks unimpressed by this info dump. However, his eyes quickly glaze over to the platoon leader's arm, which has a stash of keys. The platoon leader once again yells at them, asking what they are doing. Jang then goes forward and bluntly asks the platoon leader for the keys as he wants to go outside. The platoon leader gets incredibly annoyed by the nonchalance of Du Jang and tries to teach him a lesson by throwing a sudden kick at him. However, this is child's play to Du Jang, and he easily manages to sidestep, which causes the platoon leader to kick the hard door and get hurt instead. Jang also loads up his punch to hit the platoon leader. However, he quickly realizes that his arms are still very much injured and remembers about what the doctor said about not using his arms a lot, as that will cause his arms to get damaged even more and make his recovery time even longer. And so Jang decides against punching the guy. That is when a bunch of inmates run towards the scene to check up on the platoon leader, asking if he was okay, and the platoon leader commands them to break the already broken arms of Jang and send him to the ward as a punishment. The guys then take the order from the platoon leader and get ready to beat up Du Jang. The people then surround him, and Jang thinks that he can surely take on and beat everyone here at once. However, he doesn't want to risk his arms. According to Sunjo, he learned that this is a place where people are forcefully imprisoned for whatever reason, which means that he can't escape easily. So he can't put his arms to risk and heal up before the escape. However, Jang was already cornered by now and his back was against the wall. Jang was contemplating how to fight all these guys. Should he try to fight them while simultaneously protecting his arms from getting hit? Is that what he should do? At that moment, we see that Sunjo has stepped in for Jang, and he tells the platoon leader that Jang is a new guy who just came in today and that he has no idea where he is and doesn't know the greatness possessed by the platoon leader. If he had known about that, he wouldn't even dare to misbehave with the man himself. The platoon leader is happy hearing his praises and understands the situation as explained by Sunjo. Sunjo then further goes on to request for a couple of days for him to educate Jang so that he can learn about how this place works and requests for everyone to let him off for now. Sunjo then tells Jang to bow down and beg. He tells him to apologize for misbehaving and tell them that he won't repeat it again. Jang can't believe what he is being made to do. However, he doesn't want to risk a fight himself, so he decides to play along for the moment, and he bows down to apologize and vows to never repeat this again. The platoon leader then hits him on the back of his head and tells Jang to get in line for the roll call. Later on, we see that everyone has gathered for the roll call, and Jang is caressing his head which got hit, while Sunjo praises him for doing well there and promises to tell him the workings of this place once they find a better place in time. We then see the platoon leader call for the rolls and everyone quickly follows it with discipline. After he is done counting, the platoon leader declares that there are 24 people under his charge, including the new guy, Du Jang, before opening up the lock and letting the inmates follow his lead in line. Du Jang asks Sunjo just where are they heading to, and Sunjo tells him that they're going to grab breakfast, which immediately excites Jang because of his love for food. After a while in the canteen, we see that Jang is wondering just how weird this place is. How this place is acting like it's a military camp with how they carry themselves, but it is not. How this place locks up people, but it is not even a prison. However, he feels the strangest thing out of them all is the food that they hand out for people to eat. We then see the awful plate of food that was given to Jang and others to eat. It looks like someone's leftover food was left to rot for a few weeks. Jang can't believe how awful the food is and how humans are supposed to eat it. Jang says to himself that he would definitely stab the one who prepared this food with a chopstick. However, he can't because they only provide fork spoons here. Lee Sunjo then speaks up and tells Jang that he will explain the rest as was promised by him. Sunja says that the Daesan Welfare Facility is an organization that gives shelter, food, and work to homeless people and helps them lead a good life. Upon hearing this, Jang is flabbergasted as he tells Sunjo that he isn't even homeless. Sunjo then says that he is correct about that and that most people who are taken in by this welfare facility aren't even homeless to begin with. Instead, the organization forcefully captures people and imprison them here to get them to work for them. Why? Because the government of the country provides funds to each and every one of those homeless people. And that is why the Daesan Welfare Facility imprison normal people, label them as homeless, and eat up the funds from the government. Jang can't believe this and asks Sunjo just what kind of people would imprison normal people for no reason other than for their own gain. That is when they notice that someone has entered the canteen room. As everyone focuses on that, Sunjo tells Jang on that the kind of people who run this kind of business are right there in front of them, the two sons of the president of the Daesan Welfare Facility. We then see the two sons, the eldest one and the vice president of the organization being Park Gwang, and the second son and the general manager of the organization, the huge man named Park Yom. Jang says that it looks like they're running an inspection of sorts, and Sunjo replies by saying that it is an inspection and says that this is the opportunity for one to get themselves known to the people higher up. We then see Park Gwang walking up to Jang and Sunjo, and Park Gwang asks how did Janggon injure his arms, and asks if he is new because he hasn't seen him before. Sunjo replies instead KF Jang, telling Gwang that he is a new guy who joined recently. Gwang asks if he will be able to live in this welfare facility with all of his injuries, and Sunjo says that he is taking special care of him and that Jang will fit right in. Gwang praises Sunjo, saying that he had no idea such a nice person was living here. Sunjo says that he might be good, but is he good enough to be an honor student? Gwang smirks hearing this and replies by asking if Sunjo wants to be an honor student. Gwang then asks him for his name and tells him that he will surely keep an eye on him and his wish. Jang is annoyed by this as he realized that Sunjo was only playing nice because of his inner motives. Park Gwang then asks Jang about how he is doing and if the food given to him by the facility is any good. This question triggers Jang as he goes on to berate the food provided. Jang states that the food sucks and that humans won't be able to eat this kind of food. He says that the salted fish is more like rotten fish and says that he doesn't understand what kind of simmering was used to ruin the soup. He also adds that the vegetables are melting. Sunjo is confused as he doesn't know why Jang snapped all of a sudden. He doesn't understand because he doesn't know Jang's passion for food, and that passion has made him incapable of being dishonest about it. The vice president hears this and grabs the food plate from Jang before dumping it right on top of his head. Jang is pissed off by this, but the president goes on saying that ungrateful nobodies like Jang should be grateful that they're even getting to eat and not complain about the food. Gwang then throws the plate, which hits Jang's head, and he tells him to keep a hold of himself. Jang is enraged by this, his eyes going red from anger. Park Gwang then asks Sunjo just what kind of work has he been doing on Jang for him to behave this way, and tells him to teach him things well from now on before walking away. Sunjo then checks on Jang and says that he should clean up his head quickly, but Jang looks at him with pure, unfiltered rage. The countdown begins. 29 more days until Dujong's arms are fully healed. We then see that Dujong is taking a shower, and while doing so, he gets annoyed by the water flow, deeming that to be uncomfortable as well. Later on, we see that Jang is cleaning up the ground with a broom alongside Sunjo. Jang tells Sunjo that his clothes aren't even dry yet, to which Sunjo replies by saying that the clothes will eventually dry off while they're working. This annoys Jang as he remembers what the vice president had done to him and gets mad about it. Sunjo then says that Jang should be glad that the vice president dumped the food on him before lunchtime, as if he had done it afterwards, he wouldn't be able to clean himself up. Jang scoffs and says that, wouldn't it have been just better if the vice president didn't do anything like that all, as that is wrong? Sunjo says that it's true, but as he is supposed to add to it. A bald and overweight man comes between Sunjo and Jang and says that he agrees with the newcomer. Sunjo refers to the man as Your Excellency and asks him what he is doing there. This shocks Jang as he thinks that the old man must be some sort of president as he was referred to as His Excellency.
Right then we see someone call His Excellency and tell him that he promised to go and wash the rags today, so why is he slacking off now? His Excellency remembers that and jogs off to go do his chore. Jang then asks Sunjo why he referred to the fat old man as His Excellency, and if that old man is a president of what. Sunjo says that the old man is not a president, but he thinks he is. Jang says that then the guy must be deluded for real if he thinks like that. Sunjo explains that the man has gotten old and doesn't understand or remember things as well as he once used to. Sunjo then tells Jang that the man was a Vietnam War veteran, and there he saw several atrocities and saw many friends losing their lives, and so he has been mentally unstable since. This shocks Jang as he learns that the old man was once a soldier, just like him. Sunjo then further adds that after returning from the war, His Excellency was sent to a mental rehab center, where he began to lose himself even more.
There he saw the bald president on the television, and since then he has been afraid of the bald man and used to quiver whenever he saw him. However, as he aged himself, he lost hair and became bald and is now unable to see himself in the mirror. Jang says that happened was unfortunate, but asks Sunjo how he knows about all these things, to which Sunjo replies that he got to learn about these things from the friend of His Excellency who was also an inmate here. However, he passed away. Jang is a bit shocked hearing this and asks if people really pass away while being here. Sunjo replies by saying that lots of people pass away while being here, some due to health issues, some because of injuries, and some because of the harsh treatment from the staff and the platoon leaders. Sunjo further adds that when the platoon leader threatened to send him to the ward after beating him up, he meant to finish him off, as when people are sent to the ward, they are left untreated and hence they slowly end up passing away from accumulated damages. Jang is taken aback after learning this and says that the people who do these kinds of things are really the worst people in the world. Just when he is talking about the worst people in the world, the platoon leader shows up and tells everyone to pay attention. The platoon leader announces that today is an inquiry day, and that everyone should do their chores quickly and gather up for the occasion at the sports ground. Jang is left confused from this. But Sunjo tells him that because it is inquiry day, he will be able to see the actual worst people in Daesan Welfare Facility today. We then see that every inmate has gathered in the sports ground where the director Park and Jae stands atop a podium to deliver a speech. The platoon leaders tell everyone to bow down to show respect to the director, and they do so. Jang understands that Park and Jae is the guy and he is the supposed worst one among them all. Anyway, we later see the director starting his speech. The director starts off by saying that there are various kinds of trees in the world and that each tree has and serves their own purpose. Some trees are used as pillars for palaces, some are used for fuel, but each of them have their own use which is decided based upon its characteristics. He further continues saying, humans are no different, and that they also have their own use and are used based on their characteristics. Even great people like St. Paul were used based on their characteristics. However, he states that the inmates don't have any characteristics. Hence, they are useless and hold no value in society. However, he, the director, is like Jesus Christ in that he is a carpenter who will cut off the unnecessary parts about them and mold them to become a person that holds value in the society. After he is done with his speech, everyone is forced to clap, and Jang is understandably very unimpressed and says that the director is a deluded man who creates his own happiness with nonsense. We then see that Du Jang was also checking out his surroundings while he was pretending to listen to the director's speech. Du Jang figured out that the Daesan Welfare Facility was made up in the middle of the mountain by cutting off that particular portion of the mountain. The welfare facility is surrounded by walls from every side except for the side that faces the side of the mountain which was cut off. He notes that there is only one entrance gate in the whole facility, that being the main one. So it won't be easy in any way for him to escape, as the guards will attack him if he tries to do so. That's why he needs to calm down and wait for both his arms to heal properly for him to even think about the escape. We then see that the director is going away after his speech, and his son, Park Bwang, praises him for the speech, and the director tells his sons that he trusts them only and that he loves them very dearly. We then see the two sons and the director get in a family embrace. Later, we see that Park Bwang has taken stage and is now going to announce something. Bwang tells everyone that he will now announce an honor student, and this lights up Lee Jo as he says that he told the vice president about his aspirations before, and the vice president also took his name, so there is a chance that it is him. Jang asks Sunjo just what this honor student thing really is, and Sunjo informs him that an honor student is someone who has been well educated by the welfare facility and someone who they will now deem as fit to go outside. 3-4 people are usually selected every month to have this status. This surprises Jang on a little, as he can't quite understand why they would leave one of the inmates suddenly. The vice president then announces that the honor student is from the 4th platoon, and this upsets Sunjo as he is from the 3rd platoon. The name of the honor student is then announced to be Kwak Do-young. We see that Kwak Do-young is a rather peculiar middle-aged man, and he can't believe his luck and is very happy. The vice president then invites Kwak Do-young to say a few words. Kwak Do-young is so happy that he doesn't have a whole lot to say. He thanks everyone and tells everyone that he will be heading home now. Sunjo is jealous of this and says that Do-young is very lucky. However, Jang is still skeptical about all of this. Later on, we see that Kwak Do-young is in a room with Gwang, and he asks Gwang when can leave, to which Gwang says that they'll let him go after the doctor does a checkup, because they can't let him go while being unhealthy. We then see a doctor arriving and he starts checking up on Do-young. After a while of normal checkup, the doctor brings out an injection which scares Dong, but the doctor tells him that it's for nutrients only. They then inject it into Do-young and it quickly makes him unconscious.
A few inmates then come and drag him away while Gwang tells them to take off the uniform as it can be used on another inmate. The doctor then pokes fun at Gwang, saying he can't quite comprehend how Gwang is thinking about saving money in this moment, and then gives him a backhanded compliment for his good economical prowess. Gwang claps back at him, saying that someone who wasted a hospital, his father-in-law, and someone who gambled all his money away would definitely think of Gwang as some economic expert. Gwang then changes moods and tells the doctor to stay in his limits when talking to him. Later on, we see that an almost naked Dong is at an operation theater with the doctor from before. The doctor asks one of the nurses which parts to take out this time, to which the nurse tells him this time they need to take out the liver and kidney. The doctor then thinks of all the insults from Park Gwang and says that he is only doing it for the money. The nurse then tells the doctor that they should probably push another anesthesia into Dong as he might wake up soon. The doctor tells him to not meddle in his business and tries to go ahead with his operation, but Dong wakes up. The doctor lies to Dong, telling him that they're doing an extensive checkup, but Dong has none of it and punches the doctor square in the face before making a run for it. Dong wonders what are they doing with him while running. However, he runs straight into Park Yam, who then takes him out with a straight punch to the nose. Yam then drags a near-lifeless body of Dong as Dong asks why they aren't letting him go home. We then see a conversation taking place between Jo Tamun and one of his subordinates in his faction. The subordinate tells Tamun that Park Wan-ho was taken out alongside their men and that they will no longer meddle in their business as their organization has basically been paralyzed. He further says that because of that, Congressman Choi has handed them over the permission to run a slot machine business in their area and they can start it right away if they want to. Jo Tamun was eating and he puts his bowl down and says that he still can't get over the hangover from drinking too much. The subordinate then says that the Congressman Choi somehow already knows everything about what happened. It's kind of fishy because all of this happened within a day, yet he knows everything. Tamun says that Congressman Choi is a very clever old man and it is through his smart and agile mind and his ability to take big decisions on short notice that he got into the parliament. The subordinate then says that if everything goes well according to their plan, then they can get Congressman Choi to cut the ribbon on their new business as quickly as possible. We then see Tamun picking up a dumpling to eat, and while he does that he remembers how Do Jang asked him about what is good in that restaurant, and the driver told him that it was the dumpling and how that got Do Jang excited to eat the dumpling. Tamun then tries the dumpling for himself and understands that the dumplings here are really quite good. Tamun then goes on to ask his subordinate if Sergeant Du Jang made it back home safely or not. The scene then changes back to the Daesan Welfare Facility, where we see that Du Jang, Leon Jo, and everyone else are working. They are making water spray bottles and Jang finds this work to be very annoying to say the least. Sunjo then says to Jang that he never really asked for his name, to which Jang tells Sunjo his full name. Sunjo then asks Jang on what kind of work did he do before getting dragged into the welfare facility. Jang then thinks about all the covert and dangerous missions he was on while doing work for the military. He then goes on to answer by saying that he used to do all kinds of work that involved him using his body. Sunja then asks him that if it was strength-related work then he must have injured his arms while working, to which Jang replies by saying that he can put it that way if he wants to. We then see the platoon leader yelling at Jang and Sunjo for talking while working, and the platoon leader then asks Jang just what he had said to the vice president for him to lash out on him like that. As Jang is about to answer, the platoon leader tells him it's not needed and gives him an advice to work well and to not create any problems for the platoon. Jang stays silent and this angers the platoon leader into hitting him on the back of the head and telling him to speak up. Jang then controls his anger and says yes. The platoon leader then moves over to the other side, and Sunjo tells Jang that they aren't just scared of a problem starting in the platoon, they're just scared of getting into problem themselves. Jang then looks at the keys with the platoon leader and asks Sunjo why they decide to lock them up from inside when it is better to lock them up from outside. Sunjo said that a long time ago a man came for inspection and reported that it is bad if they lock the people up from the outside. It will make it a
a prison, and since then they've made the platoon leaders handle the locking from the inside. Jang questions that why does the platoon leader lock it when he himself is one of the people getting locked up. Sunjo says that these people never had a rank in their life, so them getting a rank and an armband representing that is too big of a deal for them. Jang understands this, and Sunjo is still being jealous about the honor students. The scene then changes and we see the doctor who conducted the operation on Kwok Dong hand over a box to Park Yam, the box most likely containing the liver and kidney of Dong.
The doctor hands it over and says that it wasn't really his fault that things got out of hand for a good second, and asks General Manager Yam if he could tell the Vice President that he did the work perfectly well and took all measures to make sure no problems occurred. Yam then says, "Sir," to which the doctor replies, but Yam follows it up with a kick to the gut of the doctor, which sends him to his knees and down to the ground from the pain. Yam then tells the doctor to call the Vice President, "Sir," and tells him not to cover up mistakes and make up lies to protect himself. Yam then drops an envelope full of money and tells the doctor to just admit it if he has made a mistake and try to improve on that. As Yam walks away, the doctor, still in pain, picks up the envelope and says that it's not really nice that the Park family treats all people like they are animals. However, upon realizing how much money it had, the doctor became happy and said that he is glad that they're paying this animal well, referring to himself. We then see that Park Yam goes to a rather quiet and dark place near the dock, where we see him hand over the box full of Duong's organs to a shady person, who then gives him an even bigger stack of money for it. We then see Park Yam go to his father, the director's office, and hand over all the cash to his old man. The director praises Yam and tells him to get a good rest, as it must be exhausting to do all the work he has done. We then see that the direct puts the stack of money inside his safe alongside many other envelopes full of ridiculous amounts of money. The scene changes and we see that Jang is sleeping peacefully alongside other inmates when they're unceremoniously woken up by the platoon leader. We then see Jang talking about how he has been in the Daesan Welfare Facility for 4 days and has slowly managed to settle in as time went by. Maybe it is due to his stint in the military that allows him to adjust to tough situations rather quickly when compared to others. However, it's not all good, as the food sucks and the place in general is hard to live in. However, he has been treating this like one of the many dangerous and secret missions he went to. However, when he thinks of it like that, it makes him even more mad, because after all, when he was in the military he had no fear and nothing to care about. He would just take on everything and everyone, regardless of how dangerous or life-threatening it might have been. But now he has something that he is scared about. He is scared about not being able to see Sienna ever again. Jang wonders if she has forgotten about him. Meanwhile, in the bank, we see that Sina is very gloomy, and she gets excited whenever someone comes to the bank but gets disappointed when it's not the person she wants to see. We then see one of Sina's co-workers telling her to go out and grab lunch while she takes care of the reception. Sienna then goes out for lunch, but she wonders why Du Jang hasn't come in such a while. She thinks of when he told her that he will be back soon with a lot of money, but hasn't come back since. She wonders if he is okay. She wonders if he is hurt. She wonders if he got into some sort of an accident. Back to the welfare facility, we see that the platoon leader hits Jang and tells him to work quicker, as he has been very slow. To which Jang says yes. However, the old mad guy from before, His Excellency, tells the platoon leader that he will work more from now on, and that he shouldn't behave badly with injured people. This angers the platoon leader, as he grabs the man by the collar and asks him if he had gone mad. His Excellency replied by saying that he hasn't gone mad. He is the president of the country, and this makes the platoon leader punch him in the face.
His Excellency falls down and cries from getting hit, and this was the final straw for Du Janggon. Chow was wondering if he got into an accident. Well, he hadn't, but now he will. Du Janggon cusses and calls out the platoon leader. Things are about to get broken.